Hello Factorio people, welcome back to the broadcast from Space Age. I'm a bit throaty today. I have a bit of a cough. I'm hoping it'll be okay. I hope I won't just cough into the mic. It's just a cough. The man who had a cough, and it's just a cough and he's fine. Episode 5! If you want to do the old like, comment, subscribe thing for me, that would be great. We did blue science last time, chemical science. So let's see what we need to do next, shall we? This was the state of the base. We just researched some of the first key chemical science researches, advanced oil processing, lubricant, so that we can expand our oil processing to be the advanced oil processing, which is very helpful. What I want to make sure we get done today is use the blue science to make sure we get all the way to robots, and then start using robots to make our lives a little bit easier. Hopefully, all things considered, they should become a little bit easier. So for advanced oil processing, you need some more chemical plants, and I've just been handcrafting those, as I've been saying before. I don't really worry about putting things like oil refineries, chemical plants in the mall, because you only need to make like 20 of them, and then that's it, then you're done. The recipe for advanced oil processing, we've set it up already. We've just got the water coming in. All we need to do is just change the recipe in the actual oil processing plants. When you change the recipe, you lose what's going on. So if you're a stickler, you could disengage the crude oil input and just wait for this to finish. If we change this to advanced oil processing, copy and paste the you can shift right click the machine and then shift left click to paste those settings, so like that for example, or like that. And Control Z now undoes that, which is nice. So there you go, there's a little tip for you. So the oil and the water comes in, and now you get petroleum, light oil and heavy oil out. The heavy oil needs to be turned into lubricant, because you need lubricant to make things like electric engines and the higher tiers of belts. Electric engines go into robot frames, so you definitely need those. And then light oil you can turn into petroleum, or you can turn it into solid fuel. Solid fuel from light oil is the most efficient way to get the solid fuel. There's lots of ways to make the solid fuel. Petroleum, light oil, heavy oil. Oh, there's ammonia, of course, in Space Age. But on Now This, you've got these 3 recipes. And light oil is the most efficient one. 20 heavy oil turns into 15 light oil. And petroleum, 20 petroleum turns into 1 solid fuel, but 30 light oil turns into 20 petroleum. So if you run the numbers on all of those configurations, light oil is the best one to make solid fuel out of. So most people, including myself, bus light oil along with lubricant, sulfuric acid and petroleum on the bus, so we have an extra space here for 4 pipes for those things. And let's get it all plugged in, shall we? Advanced oil processing is definitely the one of the biggest walls in the game. A lot of new players bounce off around this point. It's quite complicated. It's quite complicated to get it done properly and efficiently. Things like to back up, you know, like, because this outputs 3 different products, if one of them's backed up, then you suddenly don't get any of the other 2. And if you're relying on heavy oil to make lubricant, but you've got too much petroleum gas and you're not getting heavy oil, then, you know, it's all a bit, it's a bit difficult. So the way I like to do it is I like to use circuit conditions on pumps. Now this is actually incorrect. The way I've done this, I didn't notice until much later down the line. So let me just disengage these wires for you. Just imagine, yeah. So this is fine. It's fixed in the blueprint. Don't worry. It's fixed in the blueprint. In which case I should probably just put the blueprint down because the blueprint will have all the wires. There we go. That makes more sense. So what I like to do is I like to say turn heavy oil into lubricant and just keep turning all the heavy oil you get into lubricant until you have more than a number of lubricant, whatever you're happy with. I'm gonna cough, sorry. Man, this is embarrassing. Once you've got more than that amount of lubricant, then you can start sending the heavy oil on to be processed into light oil. So this makes sure that you never have a backup of heavy oil. You've always got heavy oil being processed. And I don't even put heavy oil in a tank because you only need it to turn into light oil and lubricant anyway, so I don't even bother tanking the heavy oil. Turn that excess heavy oil into light oil, and then keep light oil in exactly the same way until you have a number of light oil. And I like to keep a lot of light oil because it goes into rocket fuel, which you need a lot of. Then, once you've got that much light oil, you can start processing the light oil into petroleum. And in this way, nothing ever backs up. And if it does back up, it's usually not a problem because you're full of everything anyway. So at the moment, all of these are just full of petroleum, which is fine. Because we'll use a lot more plastic as we go forward here, because we're going to start using a lot more red circuits and green circuits in a minute to make processing units. So plastic will become used, which will use a lot of the petroleum. Lubricant will very shortly start to carry on being made, but more heavy oil turn into light oil any moment now. Let me just change this, just manually, just to show you. Alright, so then now that this has more than the lubricant in than we specified, we're also turning this pump activates. You can use the pumps with a circuit condition as like a valve, basically. They will always work if you put them down, but as soon as you put a circuit network condition on them, you can say only work when. So that's very helpful. So this is in the blueprint book, as I say. Blueprint book's in the description for you. You can see I've already started episode 6. And this is your advanced oil processing. I don't know, I don't want to go out on a limb and say it's 100% foolproof, but whenever I do it like this, it tends to be fine. Sometimes I turn light oil into solid fuel here just so I can manually fuel some trains in the early game. Because solid fuel is very good in trains. Solid fuel is very good generally for just fueling anything that has a fuel value. Your trains, your cars, your tanks. Don't recommend burning it, but you can. Only because, why would you? It's very efficient to do. Alright, so we need to start thinking about making robot frames. We've got the lubricant which we need to make the electric engine unit, so we need batteries. Batteries are the next thing that we need. Batteries are thankfully very easy. You just have your chemical plants make batteries, plug the sulfuric acid that you've already got into it, and then run some iron and some copper in. You used to need a lot more batteries than you do now in Space Age, because batteries went into accumulators which went into satellites. Now you don't have to launch satellites. You don't need to make as many batteries, but you still do need a lot of batteries, because batteries go into personal armor stuff. Especially these. Personal battery Mark 3s, Mark 2s. Even a Mark II needs 10 personal batteries, which need 5 regular batteries each. But you don't need to worry about having loads of batteries for accumulator / solar panel purposes. And I've also found that accumulators and solar panels, they are good for powering your base, but they're nowhere near as good as they were before. Unless you're really, really, really worried about pollution. I think going from boilers to nuclear power to fusion power is perfectly fine. So let me get the batteries in for you. So we put batteries on the bus. Instead of putting accumulators and solar panels on the bus, as I say, because you don't need satellites anymore. And then also electric engine units. Electric engine units use this design, which you can repurpose a bit further down the line for processing units, where you need you need items in, and you can't quite use it for processing units because I'd like to do 2 belts for processing units, but it's basically the same. This is where the long-handed inserters really start to shine, because you need to put a fluid. This is the first recipe that needs a fluid in an assembly machine to do anything. These are very slow, but thankfully this should keep up with the number of robot frames that we want, because robot frames also later go into yellow science. You don't need loads. But I always like to put electric engine... Well, that's not true. Sometimes I put electric engine units and engine units on the bus, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I craft them where they're needed. But I thought this time, seeing as space is no object, pollution is no issue, I would just bust them. Sorry, I'm super distracted cutting down trees. So, we've got steel, we've got batteries, we've got electronic circuits, we've got electric engine units all on the bus now. We can make the robot frames. This is another of your simple 2 belts in, 1 belt out blueprint. So like the blue science, like the engine units without the intermediate products before. And this will get you your robot frames. As you can see, I've decided to turn the bus right, east, if you will. Just because if I turn it left, I'm going to hit this lake, and I just thought this will be fine. I know it's very close to this water, but I don't see us needing to go any further than this before finishing on Nauvis. Like, it's possible, I suppose, but this should be more than enough space for the last few things we need, and then a bigger mall, some rocket launches. This will be more than enough. Should be. Anyway. Robot frames. And I've already built my modular armor ready. So just done some solar panels and some personal batteries here just to charge up. Just so we've got some room for some personal roboports when we're ready for that. Again, I just craft these by hand. You only need 20, 25 ever. Until you start thinking about logistics more. Same with the personal batteries, 3, 4, 5 of these, and those are just crafted by hand. So let's get this in. Some robot frames. And some personal roboports. Hooray! First construction robot, 7 hours, 50 minutes, dead! Wow, look at that. It's very slow, of course. So I like to put the robots just in a specific slot in my inventory. You can, if you're holding something, you can middle click and force that thing in your inventory to always go in that space. That works for other things as well. Train cargo wagons, that works for. It doesn't work for generic chests, I believe. Just because, why? But it works on your inventory and it works on cargo wagons. Just so if you want to open your inventory and quickly see how many robots you've got on you, you can do that. So our roboports are charging. So now, finally, at long last, huzzah! Who bloomin' Ray? Just tired of that. This is a lot of robot frames, but you kind of want them. They go into yellow science, especially. And again, as I've said before, overproducing is not a problem. If you're overproducing, then the belt backs up and then you're good. It's not like it's going to waste. Arguably it's going to waste by being on the bus, like all of these electric engine units are quote-unquote waste. But it's so negligible, really. And now we can do things like this. Span the bus a lot easier and quicker. They're very slow to start with, of course. There are a few blue researchers that speed them up for you for 35%, another 35%, and then you start needing yellow science to do it. And also cargo size, so they can carry more at once. Oh, I've already done that one. Yeah, so you get one level of cargo size so they can carry two things out and about before you start needing other sciences to get any better out of that. So they are extremely powerful, as you can tell. And of course we're not just limited to having those on our person. We can build generic roboports to cover the base with robo network coverage. The orange is logistics network coverage and the green is construction network coverage, so you don't need to really worry about that until you're using... Well, no, you do need to worry about it, that's completely untrue. Logistics chests will only work in areas that are covered by the orange, so this will work when this roboport goes down, but this one won't. This one will be deemed too far away from a roboport, so the robots in the network won't know that they can grab things from this chest to build things. And then also the orange is what connects a roboport network, so the roboport networks have to be connected by the 10,000 automation sites. The roboport network has to be connected by the orange square, not the green square, to be considered one contiguous network. And you'll notice that as I've been going here, I have been leaving enough space for things like this. It's been all part of the plan the whole time. So now we've got robots, we can do a lot of fiddly housekeeping. So let me do that, tell you what I've done. So I've done a basic build here for some Mark 1 productivity modules and some Mark 1 efficiency modules. Efficiency modules are extremely good. Energy consumption minus 30%, and they go into these slots here. They hugely, as you can imagine, 80% is the max, so if something has 3 slots it will never go below 80% max consumption, but they are very, very good. Less energy being used means less coal that you need to feed to your boilers, and it also means less pollution that you make. And the number one place for them to go, basically straight away, just start making them and put them in your electric miners. Because your electric miners are mostly working around the clock. Unless something is extremely, extremely backed up. So you'll have here in this, in the utility section, a few upgrade planners and things that I've made. I put these in a book because when you end up going into space, your inventory has to be completely empty. And for some reason, that includes blueprints and upgrade planners and things. So I found in my first playthrough I was putting upgrade planners in my inventory, like naked, like this, doing something with them. Then going, oh, I need to go to Fulgora, getting in my spaceship, but like having to put this in a chest, and then like just having thousands of upgrade planners in the logistics network for no reason. So I've decided to be a bit more sensible about it this time and put them in their own utility book as part of the blueprint. So this one is just a simple ghost checker. This one just checks if there are any ghost entities anywhere, so like, that's a bad example. Turn my robot point network off. So for example, if for some reason I had like missed this one and gone this whole time and never noticed, I can use the ghost checker thing to just drag across the whole base and then go, oh, there's actually one. There's one of the example, one stone furnace, and there's also a ghost inserter down here that I seem to have forgotten. Seem to have not noticed. Oh yeah, there it is, look at that. Thankfully it's only on stone bricks, it's not hugely important. So there we go. So that's what that utility does. Deconstruction planner forges trees and rocks and cliffs and stuff. And yes, this one will put efficiency modules into your miners for you, which you can use robots to do. I put the second furnace stack in and expanded the circuits because we'll need lots more circuits. This is just about one yellow belt of copper, so technically all of the copper is going into this. And the only reason that's not a problem is because we're not using this many green circuits. This is actually more than one red belt, one yellow belt of green circuits, but we're gearing up for a big upgrade soon. Anyway, I have added an extra column of furnaces to get us up to 72 megawatts, but you'll see when all of the efficiency modules go in how much of a help that actually is. Yeah. More circuits, more copper, more power, and the modules. And then as for the productivity modules, these give you 4% productivity bonus. So when you start using those, another bar appears in your assembly machine. So for every one craft that you do, you get 4% productivity. Well, you get the amount of percent productivity for every module you have in the building. So if you use 2, you get 8%. And then when that bar hits 100%, you get an output of that product for free. So they're also very strong. Mark 1s are less strong, but they are still useful to have, because they will help you along with things like processing units, you know, that are quite expensive and they're slow to make anyway. They do come with quite a severe speed penalty, but sometimes you're ready to trade off those things. You know, you can only put them in intermediate products as well. So anything on this tab, for the most part, you can use productivity modules on. So yes, they do slow down the speed and they do increase the power consumption, but sometimes it's a fair trade if you're making something that, you know. So this just means that we're getting 8% extra robot frames for free now. You can put them in your science as well, basically, for just completely free. It just gives you 8% increase in your science. This is also a very important place to put them, but I'm pretty sure I haven't actually remembered to do that at any stage until right now, so you'll probably see that the labs never have them in. But yeah, just bung them in here as well, so then you'll see as this fills up, every time this fills up, this is going to progress 8%, and then when this hits 100%, we'll get another free instance of a science happening. So that's good. So obviously you can see the big problem we've got now is that everything is sort of just running out. Yellow belts are not really cutting it anymore, and that certainly will be an issue once we put processing units in. So I want processing units because I want to make power armor, like, now. Don't know why I even bothered making modular armor, to be honest with you. The power armor has a much bigger equipment grid size straight away, 6x8 rather than 5x5, so what's that? That's 25, that's 48, so that's already 23 more slots for stuff. But processing units are extremely hungry on electronic circuits. Each one needs 20 electronic circuits. So let me put that in, and I'll show you exactly how bad that goes. So this is another design that needs a fluid coming in. This just has 2 belts, so it's roughly similar to the electric engine units, but except it just has 2 belts coming through the middle instead. And even this, even with the productivity modules that slow the production down, uses more than a yellow belt of green circuits. So our green circuit production is suffering heavily, which is causing our iron production to suffer heavily, because this whole belt of iron is going into this, because this is now always on. So we need, the best thing we can really do is upgrade everything to red belts. Red belts are twice as fast. Yellow belts are 15 items a second, red belts are 30 items a second. So we will literally double the throughput of the base by upgrading everything to red belts. That doesn't mean we need to double the output of these, but thankfully that's easily done, because the steel furnaces have a crafting speed of 2, compared to these which have a crafting speed of 1. So if we make all of these steel furnaces instead, we will just naturally double the production. And then, when we upgrade these outputs to red belts, that will then just fit. It will still be the 48 furnaces to 1 red belt ratio will remain. So that's very helpful. Now, of course, we need to upgrade everything to red belts. Thanks, Lab Research Speed 3. You're a real one. That is 8,000 yellow belts. And a red belt needs a yellow belt. But we can use the power of our construction robots and roboports and storage chests to basically get all of this done for us while we think about doing other things. So this is my fast belt blueprint. Just make yellow belts into red belts. And now I can plop these blueprints down and the robots will actually do things for me. That's nice, isn't it? It only needs iron and green circuits, which, yes, I know are the 2 things that we're running out of, but that's fine. It will help. You need a whole bunch of gear wheels. You need to make yellow belts, because yellow belts go into yellow splitters and yellow undergrounds, and then yellow undergrounds go into red undergrounds, and yellow splitters go into red splitters. What am I missing here? So now we can see things that we are running out of. 6 storage chests, which need advanced circuits and steel chests. Oh no, advanced circuits, please. Let me sort this out, actually. Let me make sure it's 100% working before I start yapping my map. Yapping my map? What? I think I must be ill. I think I must be seriously ill. Okay. Let me put some lights down, just because I'm going to be here for a little while explaining what's going on, so we may as well make this a bit more visible than it is. That'll do. So yes, forgive the flashing on these, but because we're outside of the Roboport network, these are going to flash for a bit. Can I amend that in any way? I need steel plates to do that. Let me fix that, because that flashing is also going to be very annoying. Okay, good. Make a whole bunch of iron gear wheels. Have one of these making belts. This is... you need this. because obviously yellow belts are ingredient in red belts, but as you start upgrading, all of the yellow belts that you're upgrading are going to naturally come back into the system. So that's why this logistics chest is here, and it has the logistics filter of transport belts. So as the robots go out and make the changes, they'll bring back the yellow belts and they will naturally put them here. So that's why this is in front of this on the build, because you don't necessarily need this to be working all of the time, because as you're upgrading you will get you'll get an influx of yellow belts, which is also why this is connected to the chest and says don't work unless there are less than 2,000 belts in there. That is exactly the same principle with the undergrounds and the splitters. But because you need these in vastly fewer quantities, I've been less strict with that. But you do need transport belts to go in here. So we are just making some transport belts. Like, if we do that big selector thing here, we can see that it's 8,000. It's 8,100 belts now, but it is only 99 splitters and 332 undergrounds. So, and even that number of undergrounds is vastly inflated because I'm an idiot and I like to do things like this. Like, this does not need to be 19 underground belts, it really doesn't, but I just like the way it looks. So, same here. 28 underground belts, what a waste. And then I've also put in a stone furnace build here. I've just inserted it directly into the middle of the bus because I'm such a pro Factorio player. You only need this to work once for a little bit. As I say, there's only like 312 furnaces we need to upgrade, so there's no real point of putting this in the mall, because once we've got those 312 furnaces we're done. We don't need to make another set of furnaces really ever. So just do it manually once like that. You can stockpile some steel and some bricks from the get-go if you like, and then just bring them over to a hand-feeding area that you do it like that in. But yeah, so then in your utilities book here you'll find the upgrade planner. I've already done this once for the, just to make sure everything's our assembly machine Mark II, which increased our science output to 60, 45 technically I think it should be. Yeah, 45. Just, as I say, this chart is very up and down because some things that you research don't actually take a minute. And if you have a backlog of science on the bus... Anyway, it's all very confusing. So let me put the Roboport network down, let me make sure we're 100% ready, and we'll do the big thing that everyone's been waiting for this whole time. Alright, so the Roboport network is in. As you can see, everything's connected via the orange. Even if it's very tight, it still doesn't make any difference. That is still all one network. I will have to come down here and manually do this bit. I'm not going to put an entire Roboport down here for this one job. And in fact, I might even remove these when the job's done. There are no robots in the network, so I've also hoovered up some robot frames and manually made another 100 robots to do this, and then we can go. We can go on the great replay. No, not that. Don't call it that. There you go. Now, don't do it like this, people. I'm doing it like this, mostly because I'm playing in peaceful mode and I don't care that this is going to take a very long time. The actual sensible way to do this is to take that upgrade planner and just run it across the one thing that you want to upgrade at that time. So, like, say your iron is suffering. Upgrade your iron smelting, and then on the bus upgrade your 2 iron belts like this. And then obviously there's going to be some crossfire here, you're going to catch some splitters and some undergrounds that don't necessarily need to be upgraded, but it will obviously improve just the iron. Because as I've said before, your throughput is only as fast as your slowest belt. So This is not going to make one single iota of improvement to the base until every single belt has been upgraded. If 99.9% of it is done, and this one belt here is still yellow, then that means that all of this belt of iron is still limited throughput to 15 items per second. I'm doing it like this because, as I say, it's fun. I'm not on the clock in the same way that I would be with biters and pollution and things. I wanted you to see it, mostly. So I wouldn't actually recommend doing it like this at all. But as we can see, the robots are bringing back the yellow belts. The red belts are very slowly being made. I waited until I had a decent backlog to start with. Obviously only 100 of these are going to happen at once. Roboports are quite intensive on the old electric network. If we see, they take a whole bunch of energy when you first put them in and they need to charge, and then as the robots do their job and the robots need electric charge, then electricity is used for that. But I did say I would show you. So all of the miners have 3 efficiency modules in. They technically only need 2. 2 will take them to 60. The third one will only then take them to 80, because 80 is the limit. So it's really up to you on whether you value that extra 20%. Technically that module isn't doing 100% of what it could be doing. But if I show you the power chart for when those went in, yeah, you can see. You can see. So like we've been adding miners, adding miners, and then suddenly I added all the efficiency modules into them, and we've basically gone down to, what's that, 15%? Probably maybe even less of the power that they were using. So even while the robots are doing this humongous job here, I've paused research just to make sure. I'm pretty sure it won't make any difference. If we start all of the assemblers back up as well. I just wanted to make sure that all the iron was going into this process, because this, as I say, this is gonna take a long time. This is gonna be. Still got 7,600 red belts to place, but we'll just let them get on with it. We'll just let them get on with it. And this will put us in a really good position to move forward here, to make sure that we've got enough raw resources, especially iron, especially copper, because we need to make low density structures which are very copper intensive. Rocket fuel should be fine, really. Rocket fuel only needs the light oil coming in, and then we can think about launching rockets, maybe. Getting a space platform done. So yeah. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please let me know with a like or a comment, and if you want to see more Factorio Space Age walkthrough / tutorial, then be sure to subscribe. Blueprint book update in the description, as always, and it'll probably even have this extra episode 6 that I've started. I'm having trouble working out where to draw the line for individual episodes sometimes. Like, sometimes I think this isn't enough to talk about, and then I record the video and it's flipping 40 minutes long, like this one is. So I'm trying to aim for about 40 minutes per episode, so maybe that's too long, I don't know, you'll have to let me know. Right, thank you, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.